I am Lori Murray, President of the Committee for Economic Development of the Conference Board, and welcome to Leadership in Challenging Times, a series of discussions with the prominent business leaders whom we are honoring this year. No one could have predicted, even several months ago, where we are, in the grasp of a global pandemic, a deep recession, and growing civil unrest. If there ever was a time for leadership from the nation's business community, it is now. The Distinguished Performance Awards is a decades-long tradition at the Committee for Economic Development of the Conference Board. Each year, we honor a preeminent group of U.S. business executives who exemplify leadership in both their companies and their communities. It pays tribute to the legacy of CED's founders, Americans who were leading CEOs during World War II and heeded the call to public service to guide the transition from wartime to a prosperous peacetime economy. Highlighting the outstanding work of our Distinguished Performance Awardees offers the business community strong examples they can follow. History has shown that when business helps solve key economic and educational challenges, the benefits extend throughout society. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of interviewing one of CED's 2020 awardees, Lucinda Baier, President and Chief Executive Officer of Brookdale Senior Living, the nation's leading operator of senior living communities and one of the largest home health and hospice providers. As of year-end 2019, the $4.1 billion company operates more than 700 senior living communities and has the ability to serve 65,000 plus residents and also serves over 20,000 patients through its home health, hospice, and outpatient therapy services. The company's 50,000 plus employees are taking care of America's seniors. And in 2019, Fortune magazine ranked Brookdale as one of the 150 largest publicly listed employers in the country. Cindy has also served for more than a decade as a board member of public and private companies and organizations. She currently serves as a member of the board of directors of the National Investment Center for the Seniors Housing and Care Industry and the Nashville Health Care Council, where she serves on the executive committee. Effective May 2020, Ms. Baier became a member of the NYSE Board Advisory Council, which identifies and connects diverse board candidates to NYSE listed companies seeking new directors. Cindy, thank you for joining us today. I would like to start by asking you to step back and give us your assessment of where we are as a country, as a society. We have been in crisis before: 9/11, civil unrest for social justice, global health crises, AIDS, SARS, MERS, the Great Recession. What's different about the current situation? And do you think lasting positive change is possible? And how do we see a way forward?
Lori, thank you so much for having me today. It's such a pleasure to have the chance to talk to you. I definitely think that the times that we're living in are unprecedented in our lifetime. It's not just the challenges caused by COVID-19, the biggest public health crisis in 100 years, but also the divisiveness that we are seeing in our society today. I'm very optimistic, though, about the future. And I think by working together, we can solve some pretty significant issues. One of the things that I know is that people who passionately believe in something can work together to overcome great obstacles. And I've personally been very excited about the way that Brookdale's everyday heroes have banded together to protect our nation's seniors from COVID-19. That's something that gives me great confidence in the country and the ability to overcome big obstacles.
You've certainly been in the eye of the storm of COVID-19 at Brookdale, and as well as all of your employees and your responsibility for that. How would you describe some of the greatest challenges you've faced over the past several months? And when did you realize this would be a game-changing event? How did you engage? How did you set priorities?
Well, I started watching COVID-19 in January before the first case entered the country. But I have to say that when I was initially thinking about COVID-19, I was thinking it was going to be similar to a very severe flu season. But certainly by the middle of March 17th, in fact, we realized that it was a much more serious, game-changing public health crisis. And so we actually withdrew our guidance on that day. But what we really did is we set our priorities based on our mission, and that is the benefit of being in a mission-driven organization. We were very focused on helping to protect our nation's seniors, and we build our business one relationship at a time. So we really needed to set our priorities based on clinical outcomes and to get great outcomes. So we leveraged our 40-year experience with strong infection control protocols. We partnered with leading health organizations, looked at public health departments, the CDC, others, to make sure that we learned as quickly as possible about this enemy that was coming into the United States to disrupt everyone's lives. And that is something that made it very clear to focus on our residents, to focus on our associates, and to do what was right for the health and well-being of both. And then we knew that we would be able to overcome the challenges that we were facing.
And, in this situation, it really did, it was almost a pop-up global crisis in terms of preparation, something that no one was really quite thinking about or prepared for. What are some of the most important lessons or advice you would share with other business leaders? As I said, having been in the eye of the storm at the forefront of where the crisis was hitting most strongly at the very beginning, and needing to react and move quickly and make important decisions.
I think you have to be agile. You have to be nimble. You have to focus on what matters most. And at Brookdale, we really needed to invent our business model or reinvent our business model overnight. Our business is at the center of healthcare, hospitality, and real estate. And a lot of our residents live with us, and it's like a country club experience. Well, when you have infectious disease that can be transmitted by asymptomatic people, it's a game changer. And so we needed to go from having our residents lunch in our dining rooms to delivering room service 3 times a day. We needed to make sure that we could give our residents engagement opportunities on an individual basis because it wasn't safe at the time to meet into groups. And it's one thing to sit there and say, where is the value? What do you need to do? How do you need to focus, and how do you need to change? And so you've got to create a cross-functional organization that focuses on that. You have to make sure that they work as a team. You have to make sure that they are a nimble learning organization and they're getting information from everywhere they can possibly get information. And then you have to make sure that decisions are made at the very best place they can be made. And that's not at the top of the organization. That is at the person who has enough information and context to make the right decision. And so that really is something that will stay with us for quite a long time, I think.
From a workforce perspective, clearly your workforce has been our front line and has been clearly in front of the entire American public as first responders and so important in this effort. What's been your biggest challenge in terms of your workforce? And in particular, I know diversity has been a top priority for you as a CEO. And what has been the role of diversity in meeting that challenge? And how does leadership drive that?
So I'm going to start with the diversity question first, because there's no question that diverse teams perform better. And so we have been very focused on creating diverse teams at Brookdale since I became the CEO. I'm proud that we have diversity on our board, within our management team, within our employee ranks. And so that allows us to get the best decisions possible and allows everyone to bring their whole selves to work and to be included in the decision making. It's fair to say that during the last several months, the workforce challenges that we faced have changed as time has passed. If I go back in my time capsule to the beginning of February, and I think about schools shutting down, country having to work at home, and then I think about our business where we're a hands-on business. We take care of people. And so our workforce needed to show up every day to take care of the health and well-being of our residents and our patients. And so they had to overcome a lot. They had to overcome fear from not knowing how COVID-19 was transmitted. They had to overcome challenges of childcare and how to make sure that their children were getting the education that they needed. They needed to reinvent their days and their routines overnight. And we had to help them do that as a company. Now, the good news is the early stages of the pandemic have changed, and we have been able to create solutions that will help us going forward. But we had to hire a lot of people to do so. We had to lean on our organization, and we had to make sure that we were focusing on the health and well-being of our residents and associates, because by securing the necessary clinical protocols, the necessary personal protective equipment, we were able to give them the confidence that they needed to show up to do their jobs every day to take care of our residents.
Public policy plays a very important role in framing the parameters for healthcare in the country, as you know. And could you share with us what your view of the role of the CEO is, both within the company and with regards to the public square? How much do you feel it's important for you to be contributing to talking about public policy and the necessary changes that need to be made in that area as well?
There is no question that the role of the CEO is very important in sort of running a company, setting the strategies, setting the tactics, and the way that you go about doing that has a big impact on public policy. And so using COVID-19 as an example, we're a public company, and yet we were facing a very large public health crisis. And so we knew that we needed to step up and really make a significant contribution sort of on that front for the good of our residents, for the good of our associates. And we were hopeful that others would catch up. That's one of the reasons why we proactively instituted a testing at all of our communities. It's also important to make sure that you're considering sort of the stakeholders, right? Your residents, your customers, your patients, as well as your associates. And when a group of common-minded people come together, they can truly accomplish amazing things. And I see that just every day. I'm so excited about the way that our Brookdale associates have really learned from each other. They have lent a helping hand, whether it's through some of the social issues that we've faced or whether it's through some of the public health challenges that we've faced. And I think that's where, being a mission-driven company, we have a very special role to play in society, because our business is all about helping people live their best lives and overcoming some of the challenges of aging that are very challenging.
So how have these tectonic events of the past several months changed the way your company works, the way you lead? What's different from a year ago, and how lasting do you see those changes?
Well, as I said earlier, we changed our business model overnight. So a lot of things have changed. But I do think that there are some things that have changed for the better. We're much more nimble. We are much more agile. We work very well in teams. And we've created a lot of flexibility. Our organization are now Zoom experts, and we have learned how to sort of be there without being in person where it's possible. And that's given our associates a lot of flexibility if they are not a community worker. And from what I'm hearing from our community associates is they're getting great support even when it's not face-to-face. I don't think that'll change. I also think that healthcare has changed. Telehealth has been a very big part of our response to COVID-19. And I think that that's something that will continue to create efficiencies and better quality healthcare going forward. The partnership that you've seen in the healthcare industry, I think, is unparalleled, and I think that will also continue. And I think the thing that we will definitely see is companies being much more nimble, really focusing on what are the key things that are critical. How do you focus on those very specifically? And then you eliminate some of the things that are less important. There's nothing like a crisis to tell you sort of what really matters. And once you get that clear crystal laser-like focus, it's easier to retain those things as you go forward. So I think our business is forever changed. I think most businesses likely are, but I think it's actually going to be good in the long run because it just accelerated change that needed to happen.
Well, Cindy, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your perspective on these unprecedented times and your advice and insights on leadership during these unprecedented times. It's really our privilege to honor you this year, and we look forward to the October 27th event. And thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to discussing it even further then.
Thanks, Lori.